Well, folks, here we go again. Vladimir Putin has responded to the ceasefire proposal in Ukraine, and surprise, surprise, he's got conditions. A lot of conditions. And if history has taught us anything, it's that trusting Putin on a ceasefire is like trusting a fox to watch the henhouse. So let's break it down. According to reports, Putin is open to a 30-day ceasefire. But, and it's a big but, Ukraine can't rearm, can't mobilize, and Western military aid must stop during the truce. Essentially, Ukraine would be frozen in place while Russia keeps doing whatever it wants. Here's Putin making it sound like he's being reasonable. We must address the root causes of the conflict, which is rich, considering he's the one who started the war. So what happens if Ukraine accepts these conditions? Let's think this through. If Ukraine stops mobilizing and stops receiving Western weapons, it essentially pauses its defense. Meanwhile, Putin, who has a long history of breaking deals, can just use the truce to reinforce Russian positions, resupply his troops, and prepare for another attack. That's not a ceasefire. That's a setup. This is the same Putin who said he wasn't going to invade Ukraine in 2022 right up until the tanks rolled in. The same Putin who violated ceasefire agreements in Georgia, Syria, and Donbass. So why would he suddenly play fair now? Even if Ukraine meets all his demands, who's going to enforce this ceasefire? The UN? NATO? The US? Putin knows full well that international bodies don't have the power or the will to hold him accountable. And let's not forget that Trump, who called Putin's response very promising, has a history of cozying up to him. So if this ceasefire happens, we have a scenario where Ukraine is vulnerable, the West is sidelined, and Putin keeps his options open. That's not peace. That's putting Ukraine in a straitjacket while Russia reloads. Zelensky, for his part, called this manipulative, and he's right. If Ukraine agrees, they risk getting steamrolled. If they refuse, Putin can play the victim, claiming he wanted peace but Ukraine wouldn't cooperate. Classic propaganda move. So what's the takeaway here? A real ceasefire would require Putin to actually withdraw troops, allow Ukraine to continue defending itself, and have real enforceable consequences if Russia violates the deal. But that's not what he's offering. Bottom line, if Putin were serious about peace, he wouldn't need to set traps. The question is, who's going to fall for it? Is it just me, or does anyone else see the issue here? If Putin truly wants peace, he should pull his troops out of a sovereign nation. It's clear he doesn't want peace. Like and subscribe.